The man in the crawlspace watches me sleep, and he only comes closer when I blink. I moved into my new apartment 3 weeks ago. Small, cheap, and a bit creaky, but quiet. I'd been desperate for my own space after a bad breakup and a worse roommate situation, and this place was within budget. The landlord only gave me one warning during the tour: don't open the crawlspace unless you're prepared to close it quickly. I laughed at the time, thought it was some quirky warning about pests or maybe insulation, but he didn't laugh back. He just stared at me and repeated, quickly. The crawlspace door is in my bedroom ceiling. A square panel, old wood, barely holding by 2 rusted hinges. The first night I slept here, I heard something moving up there. Not scratching, not scurrying, just a soft shift. Like cloth dragging across wood. I tried to ignore it. Told myself it was just the building settling, or maybe a squirrel got in. I didn't sleep well, but I didn't panic. Yet. It was on the 3rd night that I saw the first note. Just a scrap of paper on my bedside table that said, "Do you blink in your sleep? I live alone. I don't own a printer." The handwriting was sharp, deliberate, and childish. Like someone trying to mimic adult writing. I checked the locks. Everything was still bolted. The crawlspace door, however, was open about 2 inches. I bought a stepladder the next day. Climbed up, flashlight in hand, and lifted the panel all the way. Cold air trickled out like a whisper. The crawlspace was dark and shallow, barely enough room for a person to lie flat. But in the dust, I saw a clear path carved through, like someone had been dragging themselves belly first from one end to the other. At the far end, I saw a pair of old, child-sized shoes. Facing me. I slammed the panel shut. That night, I set up my phone to record while I slept. When I reviewed the footage the next morning, my heart went cold. At 2:17 a.m., the crawlspace panel opened slowly. Something pale reached out and lowered itself with inhuman slowness. I fast-forwarded in horror as it stood at the foot of my bed for 3 straight hours, watching. Breathing. Head tilting occasionally, like it was studying me. The video ended with a sudden lurch forward, its face inches from mine, and then static. Didn't go to work. Didn't leave my apartment. I rewatched that video over and over, and every time, I noticed something else. Its arms were too long. Its legs bent the wrong way. And its eyes. They didn't blink. Not once. The next night, I stayed awake in bed, pretending to sleep. I left the light off and kept my phone under the pillow, ready to call for help. At exactly 2 a.m., the panel creaked. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I watched from the corner of my eye as the thing unfolded itself down from the crawlspace, one limb at a time, moving like something wet and boneless. It stood over me for what felt like hours. Then I heard the faintest voice, so close it buzzed in my ear, "Why do you hide your eyes?" I couldn't take it. I blinked. Just once. When I opened my eyes, it was gone. The next morning, there were 2 notes beside my bed. One said, "Almost." The other, "Don't blink tonight." I tried to stay awake again, but sleep comes for everyone eventually. I don't remember closing my eyes. But I woke up to a new note pinned to my blanket. "You blinked twice." I moved closer. I nailed the crawlspace shut. I slept on the couch. I played loud music all night. Nothing helped. It stopped needing the crawlspace. I'd see it in mirrors. In reflections on windows. Sometimes, standing behind me when I brushed my teeth, staring with those black, blinking-less eyes. I moved out last week. Left everything behind. I didn't even pack. I just ran. I'm typing this from a motel halfway across the state. There's no crawlspace here. No attic. Just a single window and a door I locked twice. But tonight, I found a scrap of paper under my pillow. "You blinked again." I stared at the note like it might burst into flame in my hands. I hadn't told anyone about the blinking, the notes, or the thing from the crawlspace. And yet, here it was again. A message, handwritten in the same jagged scrawl, waiting for me in a completely different city, different bed, different life. I hadn't even unpacked my bag. The motel room was bare except for my phone charger, the untouched sheets, and this single piece of paper that made my skin crawl like I was being watched through the drywall. I checked the door. Still locked. Bolted. The window hadn't been opened. My phone was on airplane mode. There was no chance this was a prank. No way someone followed me. But even as I told myself that, I couldn't shake the feeling that the thing hadn't followed me at all. It had been here before I arrived. The motel clerk said I was the only guest in this wing of the building. He'd even joked, You'll have the whole hallway to yourself. Nice and quiet. At the time, I thought that was perfect. Now, that silence had turned into a suffocating stillness, the kind you feel right before something touches your neck. That night, I pushed the dresser in front of the door. I shoved a chair under the knob. I closed the curtains tight and covered the bathroom mirror with a towel. I even set up a cheap battery camera pointed at the bed, something to prove I wasn't insane. I left the lights on. All of them. And still, just like every night since Hollow Ridge, I dreamed of it. In the dream, I was in the crawlspace again. Not looking into it, inside it. Trapped in the darkness, pressed between the wooden beams like a corpse stuffed inside a coffin. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. And then I saw it. Crawling toward me. Not walking, not slithering, blinking its way through space. Every time I closed my eyes, it was closer. I could see its face now. Or what it wore as a face. It was mine. Mouth stitched closed, eyes black and full of stars, it was wearing me like a mask made of regret. And just before I woke, it leaned close and whispered through clenched teeth. "You belong in the dark now." I jolted awake, heart thundering. The lights were off. I hadn't turned them off. The camera was melted. Not broken, melted, as if someone had microwaved the memory card. My phone was missing. The window was open just a crack, and in that crack was another note, fluttering slightly in the breeze. "You looked away." I packed my bag in 10 seconds. Left the motel before sunrise. I didn't check out. I didn't look back. I drove aimlessly, fueled by panic and bad coffee, stopping only when exhaustion made the wheel shake in my hands. I found a new place, cheap Airbnb, off-grid. No mirrors. No crawl spaces. Just a mattress on the floor and a single bare light bulb overhead. I thought that would be enough. I was wrong. Last night, I caught my reflection in the window. Only it wasn't mine. It blinked when I didn't. Smiled when I frowned. And then, it lifted a finger and wrote something backward in the fog of the glass. "Let me out." I broke the window. Shattered it with a chair and screamed until my throat gave out. The neighbors never came. The host never responded. I don't think they heard me. I don't think I'm in the same place anymore. The notes are different now. Less teasing. More instructional. The last one said, "Your body is a guest house. I am the guest. I don't sleep anymore. I nap with my eyes pried open, sometimes taping them, sometimes using toothpicks, caffeine, anything. But I still blink. You always blink eventually. I've started seeing flashes of it even when I'm awake, in passing cars, in people's faces. It's not just watching me anymore. It's inside something. Or someone. I think I let it in the moment I saw it in the crawlspace. I think that's the rule it never wrote down. Once you see it, it sees you. Once you blink, it steps in. And now, every time I see a mirror, I swear it's smiling wider. So if you're reading this, if you ever move into a place with a crawlspace, or an attic, or even just a weird sound in the walls, do not look. And whatever you do, don't blink. Because if you do, it moves closer. And the next time you look in the mirror, it might already be you. I smashed every mirror I owned after writing that sentence. Every reflective surface, phones, windows, even the glint of a spoon, I covered or destroyed. But it didn't matter. You can't hide from something already inside you. It began whispering to me. Not from behind walls, not in the corner of the room, but inside my thoughts. I couldn't tell which thoughts were mine anymore. It would say things in my own voice. Familiar, casual. Like, "You should go to sleep now, or you won't remember this tomorrow." And the worst one, "Let me steer this time." I started losing time. A few minutes at first. Then hours. The first time it happened, I was standing at a gas station pump with the nozzle still in my hand, but my car had already been filled. The receipt said it had been 15 minutes. I had no memory of paying. The second time, I woke up in someone else's clothes. They didn't fit me right. There was dried mud on the sleeves, and my hands smelled like pine needles and ash. I found a map in my pocket. A physical, folded map, the kind no one uses anymore. A red circle was drawn around a place deep in the woods 3 states over. No roads. No name. Just coordinates and the words. "Bring it home." I don't remember driving there. But I know I did. I found photos on my phone that I didn't take. Trees. A burned-out cabin. A well. And in every single photo, somewhere hidden in the corner or the reflection of the lens, my face. Blank. Staring. Sometimes with eyes that weren't mine. It's hunting something. Or maybe it's calling others. I don't know which is worse. Last week, I met a woman who said she recognized me from a dream. She worked in a diner off the highway and refused to serve me. Said she dreamed about me knocking on her window 3 nights in a row. Except in the dream, I wasn't speaking. I was just blinking. Slow and rhythmic, like a message in Morse code. She cried when I stepped closer. Screamed when I asked her what I had said in the dream. She said I mouthed the words, "You're next." I didn't even know I'd said them until she repeated them back to me. I fled. That night, I woke up with her name scratched into my arm. Not written, scratched, like it had been clawed into my skin from the inside. Now, the rules are changing. It's not just don't blink. That was the first threshold. There are more now. It leaves lists. I wake up and they're on my ceiling, or written in steam on the bathroom tile, or on my tongue when I look in the mirror and dare to open my mouth. Rules like: don't answer if it calls your name. Don't look into your eyes for more than 7 seconds. Don't talk to your reflection after midnight. If you see yourself in a place you've never been, run. If you see your shadow move on its own, it's too late. I don't know what happens if you break all the rules. I think I might be close to finding out. My dreams are different now. There's no crawlspace. No dark hallway. Just a room with infinite mirrors, stretching out into a vast black space like stars. In every mirror, I see a different version of me, young, old, sick, laughing, screaming. And at the center of them all is one standing still. Eyes open. Never blinking. Just watching me. And I realize now. That version is real. That's the true version. The one that never blinked. The one that let it all the way in. I think it's been trying to replace me since the beginning. Not possess. Replace. Tonight, I felt it stronger than ever. I blinked. And for a second, I was outside my body, watching myself from behind my own eyes. I saw myself smile. But it wasn't mine. It was its. The thing that lives between moments, that feeds on stillness and silence, that wears us like borrowed skin. I'm losing. Whatever this is, this entity, this echo, it's merging with me. The next time I fall asleep, I might not be the one who wakes up. So I'm writing this as a warning. As a record. And maybe as a confession. If you see me again, on the street, online, or maybe even in the mirror, ask me something only I would know. Make me blink. Because if I don't, if I just smile and keep staring, it isn't me anymore. It becomes you next.